Nathan Gorman wins a 10-round unanimous decision over Kevin Johnson. Now, it was interesting to see Gorman in there against Johnson because we get a direct comparison between his performance against Johnson and his stablemate and domestic rival Daniel Dubois' performance against the same opponent, just as we had a comparison when they fought Kajanu. However, in all fairness, Nathan Gorman took on both guys as late replacement opponents. So he hadn't been training specifically for Kajanu. He hadn't been training specifically for Kevin Johnson. Now for Kajanu, he was supposed to be fighting Alex Leapai instead, who's only 6 feet tall. Kajanu's about 6'7", 6'8". So all of his training was geared towards fighting a short guy, and he ended up going in there against a guy 6'7", 6'8". So that can throw you off. There's no question at short notice. Then he fought Kevin Johnson. I can't remember who he was supposed to fight instead of Kevin Johnson. I'm sure one of you guys will fill me in the comments section. But Kevin Johnson's 6'3", so he's a medium-sized heavyweight by today's standards, the same height as Nathan Gorman is. Personally, I was a little disappointed by Gorman's performance, not because it went the distance, because Kevin Johnson's a very tough, wily vet, and he takes most people the distance. It's only Anthony Joshua and I think one other person who stopped him. But other than that, he goes the distance. He went the distance with Pulev. He went the distance with Andy Ruiz. He went the distance with Tyson Fury back in the days. Went the distance with Derek Chisora. Went the distance with Vitaly Klitschko. But I mean, he goes the distance with people. He's very tough. He's very awkward to catch clean. He knows how to protect himself. And if you're taking him on short notice and you're not prepared for this kind of opponent, again, it can be a bit awkward. But the reason I say I'm a little disappointed is because of Nathan Gorman's lack of energy. Normally, Gorman is a very energetic fighter who reels off combinations and flashes some very impressive hand speed. I didn't see much of the hand speed in this fight. I didn't see many combinations in this fight. I mean, there were some, but compared to how he normally fights, there were few and far between. And there was also some defensive lapses from Nathan Gorman. Kevin Johnson was landing a right hand over Gorman's left shoulder repeatedly, over and over and over and over and over and over again, particularly in the middle portion of the fight, around round 6. You guys watch the fight. It's on BT Sports YouTube channel. They put it up there. Not that many people will want to watch it because it is one of the most dull fights you will have seen this year. Very, very dull fight. Excruciating to sit through, in all honesty. And yeah, Nathan Gorman gets hit with a short right hand over his left shoulder repeatedly, and he can't seem to figure out how to block it. He can't seem to figure out how to anticipate it and stop the right hand landing. Now, the punch has nothing on it. It's not hurting Nathan Gorman. It's not busting up his face. Kevin Johnson clearly wasn't in particularly good shape, cardiovascular shape for the fight, because he really wasn't able to do anything in there other than land these weak little right hands over the top, which had no kind of power on them. If he had been in shape and it had been several years ago and he was landing those right hands, it might have caused Nathan Gorman some problems because there would have been more power on him. But in the shape he was in, he didn't have much energy to do much more than just touch the side of Nathan Gorman's cheek with that right hand. But it was landing repeatedly, and that's a defensive deficiency that Nathan Gorman needs to address moving forward. Now, not every fighter he's going to get in there with is going to be as sneaky as a Kevin Johnson. They're not going to be as a wily vet as he is. But nonetheless, there's a gap there in his defenses for somebody with the know-how to exploit. Now, with regards to Daniel Dubois and comparing his performance against Johnson to Dubois' performance against Johnson, I felt like Dubois did a much better job. Even though Dubois was criticized for his performance against Johnson, I felt like he controlled Johnson a lot better. I felt like he looked the more dominant in there against Johnson. I think he actually got hit less as well against Johnson than Nathan Gorman did. So for me, Dubois did a much better job than Nathan Gorman, even though they were both taking the distance. And I certainly am definitely of the opinion that Dubois did a much better job against Kajanu as well. Again, being 100% fair, Nathan Gorman took both opponents as late replacements. But even still, you don't want to see a guy make the same defensive error over and over and over and over and over again throughout the fight. You want to see a guy who can adjust on the fly. And when you've got a guy like Nathan Gorman, who really is being built as more of a boxer than a puncher, you need the ability to adjust on the fly if you're a boxer, not a puncher. If you're a powerhouse like Daniel Dubois, you don't expect the same level of skill from a Dubois, because a lot of the time they don't need the same level of skill. But someone like Gorman, who it appears isn't a real big heavyweight puncher, you're going to need to compensate for that lack in elite level power with elite level skills, defensive and offensive. But that's not what we saw here. And I think Nathan Gorman also was lacking creativity when it came to the way he was attacking Kevin Johnson. And again, this is a learning experience, and hopefully moving forward, he will be more creative when he comes up against someone who's as stubborn and difficult to break down as Kevin Johnson. But you would have liked to have seen some creativity in there from him. You know, some more maybe feints to the body to draw Kevin Johnson's lead and encountering, just more creative stuff, thinking outside of the box. This is what separates regular talent from special talent, is guys who can think outside of the box, adjust on the fly, figure out opponents, figure out how to bring an opponent out of their shell and punish them. And, you know, Dubois, not really somebody who can bring opponents out of their shell that much, but he's so physically strong, he can just bulldoze you, you know. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Nathan Gorman, Kevin Johnson fight. It was definitely a stinker. Unsurprising that they uploaded it to YouTube right away, because it's not like people will be clamoring to watch it on television anytime soon. They uploaded it literally as soon as the fight was over. BT Sport have been doing that quite a few times actually with some of their fights. But where does Nathan Gorman go from here? Obviously, I'd like to see him in there against somebody who isn't a late replacement. I'd like to see him have a full camp and go in there and fight somebody who he's trained for. And we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce situation. Nathan Gorman says he was a little surprised that the British Board of Boxing Control made Dubois versus Joyce for the British. He felt like it was going to be made with him and Dubois for the British. And that would make more sense to me, because Joyce, now that he's been mandated for the European, he's probably looking for bigger and better things at this point. So hopefully that situation can be resolved and we can get Gorman versus Dubois mandated for the British and, you know, see where it goes. I know a lot of people would prefer to actually see Dubois versus Joyce, and I get that because they don't really rate Nathan Gorman. But I don't think the Joyce fight is realistic. I would like to see it. I'd like to see Joyce versus Dubois. Definitely. Do not get it twisted. I definitely 100% would love to see that fight. If it gets made, I'll be very excited and very much looking forward to it. But I don't really think it's realistic. Joyce's team has already been talking about how they're the A side and, you know, all that kind of business. And they are looking for bigger and better things than to be fighting a, 10-0 prospect, Daniel Dubois. They're looking for bigger and better things than that. They're looking to move on to European, world level, etc. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about the whole situation in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.